kept on reading, sing this song. Kept on this trip back along.
I want to hear you do a cover of that.
No night, going through no day.
That'd be really good.
Gonna bet me money on the bobtail neck.
Do you want to do that as like a charity single?
My way. Yeah.
A double hit. That's a good way to start the podcast.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we're in it now.
Nice, done me there.
There we go. Look at this. I'm in a fancy, it's not even a studio. It's my house.
Yeah, that's all right.
You know what I mean? I don't own the house. I mean, I'm renting it with three other people.
He bought it.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
This is it was his lifelong ambition. He is 105 and now he owns it.
Exactly.
He's coughing his fucking guts.
I know, man. I feel like I might be dying, but I'm not. It has gotten better, I promise. But I've been coughing all day, all night. But I don't feel ill.
Yeah.
This is what I don't get.
Yeah, you should give it them smokes, Marv, I reckon.
Nah, never. Anyway, we're back. Do you know how long it's been since the last podcast? Like 3 months? 3 whole months?
I'm not getting paid enough to do it.
That's true. Should we talk about what we've been doing for the past 3 months?
Nah, let's just get into it. So this week...
Dang. Well, make some notes. Well, that was so loud. He may do it again. I may even turn you down a little tiny bit.
Hey, do it.
Because I feel that's the kind of characteristic of you, is to do funny things like that. Anyways, so in the 3 months since we did the last pod, I moved house. I've moved here now. I'm in Bristol. I love it. It's great. I live with 3/4 of the Uptones, and they're wonderful blokes, and they're currently on tour, which is why I have the house to myself.
Uh-huh.
And this is why we're doing a podcast here. It's great. I've literally got all my music stuff set up, and it's lovely. I can't ask for anything more. I hate their guts. If they're listening right now, I hate them all, and I've eaten all your food. I got diagnosed with ADHD officially December.
Yeah.
Which ticks a lot of boxes. Ticks a lot of boxes.
Ticks a lot of boxes.
Ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah. You really couldn't have introduced that statement with a better...
And the fact I got dyslexia as well. So
yeah,
that was the And then you just done the same thing. Yeah. So I like that. It's rubbed off. Yeah. It was nice to kind of have that certified thing of like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So now I know how to work around it. And the next step now is that I've just got to like go get a medical diagnosis and get the prescriptions and the tablets, and the going to be interesting. But yeah, it makes sense why I'm very one-track minded with things. And, you know, I'm all about pod 1 minute, then I'm all about function, then the next minute, then I'm all about making my own music, and next minute, then skateboarding, then random clips like Can't Pay, Take It Away.
I don't necessarily think that's just an ADHD thing. I think
reckon.
That's just a general thing sometimes where it's like, I can't be, you know what I mean? But the trouble is, if you continue up with that sort of thing, you're not going to end up doing anything.
Well, the main thing is that everyone struggles with certain things sometimes.
Yes.
But it's more to do with like the involuntariness of it.
Yeah.
Like I can't choose to get out of waiting mode, which is like I want to do something.
Yes.
But my brain is just not letting me do it. I seen a really good TikTok the other day. It was like, right, I'm going to turn this stove on, boiling hot, put your hand on it.
No.
Exactly. But you physically could be able to take your hand and put it on it, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
I was like, well, go do it then.
No.
But I guarantee every fibre of your being's like, I literally can't do it. That's how waiting mode is. So sometimes I have to wait till like the day of something to then get it done. And I get it done in 20 minutes and I get annoyed.
Oh, yeah, I'm a bit like that.
Yeah.
Maybe
you got it.
Maybe. I've said this before on the podcast, actually. If I got 6 months to do something, it won't get done.
Yeah.
If I've got 2 hours to do something, it will get done,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be really good.
Yep.
It's weird, man. It's irritating. It's annoying.
It is. And then this is what, again, I get annoyed with podcasts because I love doing this. And, oops, sorry, Mum. I love doing this. And it's sometimes just trying to organize my time to get it done. Then weeks go by and I'm like, shit, it's literally been 3 months. I was doing TikToks the other day. And then now I'm literally recording again.
We're in Newcastle upon Tyne on Saturday in 2 days' time.
That is 5 hours away. That is our day job. Our day job takes us everywhere, and it's very consuming, isn't it?
But people already know about that. We don't want to talk
exactly.
About that.
Go on.
We've also been on tour.
I was going to say, what do we do with our function band? Where do we go, James?
We went to a place called France. If you've never heard of it, it's all right.
I've never heard of France.
It's got quite good cheese, but obviously we're vegan. So
did you have any cheese out there?
I had a bit.
You had a bit of cheese.
I have gone pescatarian for our viewers, and if you haven't noticed, I'm I'm a little bit trimmer.
Look at them cheekbones on the boy.
You can, yeah.
I'm proud of the lad. Look at him.
I've been eating well. Vegetables. Well, I had some tender stem broccoli for my tea. It was very nice.
Did.
Very nice.
With those Vivera kebabs, which you love.
Oh my God, Vivera, if you're listening, endorse us now. Give me all the kebabs.
Imagine that we have to eat it on podcast. I do that. I do that all the time.
I would eat it for breakfast, lunch, tea. Not an issue, man.
And supper.
And supper.
Bloody supper.
But no, I'm pescatarian. I don't really eat a lot of fish, but if I do have a meat, it will be fish.
How are you finding this now? Like, I would say, like, not necessarily a health journey, but like it has been a complete 180, because we were always saying to you, like, you know, maybe you need to think about getting healthy and all these things. And it just wasn't like ringing true, but like you've literally done a 180 and it's like, right, I am on it now. How do you feel about it?
Oh, great. Yeah. It's just, I feel alive. You know what I mean? Like nice. I can do stuff, you know? I had a funny little race with the co-guitarist of Elucis the other day.
Premier metal band from Bristol.
We were at my house and I went, right, let's go to Amsterdam, which is 2 minutes away in a car. And I said, right, okay, I did something silly. I went, I'll drive. And he went, but I want to drive because he'd driven to my house. And I went, let's both drive then. And he went, what? I went, yeah. The last one to ask does a smelly poo belt or something like
nice.
That. And I beat him there in the car, got out, and I ran for barely any time at all. But before it would have killed me.
Yeah.
Whereas I was still at the door like, I feel all right. It was weird. Obviously, I've 2 stones been lost. I'm powering through.
That is something to celebrate.
It is, mate. It is.
That ain't that easy to lose.
I've been finding it super easy. I don't know why people are sort yourselves out. I'm joking. I understand.
Fat phobic.
I understand these cuts.
No, I never will.
I understand that, you know, everybody has different sort of issues with temptation and, you know, eating habits and stuff. But I almost feel guilty because I found it super easy. Like, I've not found it difficult at all. And in a couple of months, you can sign up to my Patreon, in which I'll show you how to eat better.
How James does it.
How Mez went from a big old chunker to, you know, quite slight.
Mez's healthy munch.
Mez's healthy munch. Mez's monthly munch.
Mez's monthly munch and fitness.
Mez Monday's munching.
That's too many to count.
There's a lot.
Anyways, we're back. We're loving it. And I want to introduce a new segment called 50 Firsts. So all I want to try and find out is, you know, I want to see if I can find the lineage of like the first time an artist has done this or done something. And then if I can find the earliest one and I flip it over to the listeners and the viewers, can you find something earlier than what I found? So what I've done is I've kind of shoehorned mine. So it's not like a very like wide thing. I've kind of made it very tailored to the thing that I found.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went with, well, who was the first artist to release 2 double albums of original material in 1 year?
Good grief.
And now the reason why I came to that was because Red Hot Chili Peppers, my beloved Red Hot Chili Peppers,
of course,
they released Unlimited Love and The Return of the Dream Canteen, which are both technically classed as double albums. Now, I've gone down all these forums.
They're both double albums.
They're both double albums.
That's insane.
So I was like, wow, is this the first time someone's ever done this? So I went on my little travels and I was going through forums and all these debates about how long a double album is because it's changed now because of CDs and vinyls and stuff. And no, they're not first person. The first person that I could find is Frank Zappa.
Of course.
In 1979, he did an album called Chic Your Booty.
Nice.
Which is literally meant to be a play on Shake Your Booty.
I already want to listen to that.
Yeah, in March 1979. Which is a double album, and then he did Joe's Garage Act 2 and 3 in November, which is actually part of a 3-album trilogy. I don't know why Joe's Garage Part 1 must have been in 1979, but it's not a double album.
I think I've either listened to that or I've watched some form of documentary that mentions it.
Quite possibly. Yeah. But that is the earliest I could find. It's 1979. Frank Zappa was the first person in my mind to release 2 double albums of original material.
Cool. That's cool.
Which means no covers, no nothing.
No.
All originals in the same year. Yeah. So if you can find, and you know, that's you and you and you, everybody, if you can find an earlier example of that, I want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to see what you come up with. And that's what I'm going to do from now on.
That's a good show.
This episode, the reason why, we would hate an album, because they're past their prime.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So knowing that an artist has passed their prime can only happen with the passing of time. Like you can't tell straight away. Like there needs to be some amount of time. It could be years. It could literally be weeks. It could be like one day. But like there needs to be some sort of bit of like time moving to be able to deduct whether someone has passed their prime. Now, these notes I do have were dictated. I did a voice to text, so
this could be fun.
It could be troublesome, but I'm going to try and go for it. There's also two sides to this. It's the listener's perception as to what's past their prime, and then the artist's perception. I think an artist can go into the recording process and maybe not feel as excited about like the material that they're making.
Yes.
Or maybe they're not really excited about being a musician. You know what I mean? We've had times where you don't want to pick up your guitar.
All the time, mate.
You know what I mean? But imagine being like, right, do a song now, write a song now, write a riff now.
I mean, to be fair, some of the greatest songs of all time have come from that, where it's like, write a song in 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes, write a song.
True, but I guarantee a lot of dud songs.
A lot of. No, I'm not playing that.
A lot of dead songs. I guarantee it.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe the material they're writing is not exciting enough. Maybe it copies their work, previous work too closely. Yeah. And much like I kind of commented on the previous episode, if you remember that, all those months ago.
Oh, mate,
if you don't release material within certain time frames, you become irrelevant.
Yes.
And then the future artists will take, inspiration from that. So it may only take one artist or one movement or one genre to kind of make you past your prime. It's not even up to do with you.
Yeah. No, not necessarily.
And also, like, the artist could go through a major life change. So Noel Gallagher from Oasis, remember that band Oasis? Still cool now, aren't they?
Nah,
don't remember him. No. They're really cool, really cool. So he, there's a definitely maybe documentary like 10 years after it got released, and he was like, look, I can't write about being on the dole and doing drugs and being poor anymore because I'm a millionaire rock star.
Yeah.
So I can't lie to people and just keep writing crap like that. So he started writing a bit more, what did I put in my notes? Kind of a bit more like for the listener to kind of take away and ponder, like more existential questions about life, and writing about love, and like less like diary entries, less of them. Like more like less about him, more about like the world consciousness, which some people would say is like that's the era of Oasis they don't like. Bit preachy, but like they don't really like that anymore. It's not about that. Drugs, man.
There is that dissonance, isn't there? Of like, yeah, you can't really sing about being on the dole, and having no money, but also the other side of it where it's like, oh, okay, I'll write about the state of the world. It's like. Yeah. I don't know how many people are going to listen to a multi-millionaire, extremely successful musician and go, oh, yeah, his opinion on the world, yeah, that really resonates with me. It's like, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Me sat in a, say I'm like, I don't know, someone who doesn't have a whole lot of money. I'm in a council house.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm on benefits, perhaps.
You're being evicted from Can't Pay, Take It Away.
I have absolutely no judgment for people like that whatsoever. But the point I'm making is he's got millions. He literally has a Rolls Royce that he cannot drive because he never learned how to drive to this day.
Doesn't need to.
And ridiculous houses, I imagine, like champagne in the fridge. His life and worldview. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot different to quite a fair few.
He's not going to be able to connect with the people that, kind of were the living embodiment of cigarettes and alcohol in those early albums. Yeah. So it's connecting with somebody else. So yeah, there is going to be a disconnect. Like, you're going to make loads and loads of money. You're a rock star. Like, literally, you're going to live the rock star life. Like, yeah, it just is what it is, isn't it?
Exactly.
I also think a listener can get overexcited and put so much expectation on what that album's going to be like.
Yeah.
Like how it's going to affect their lives. And then it's just never, ever going to be like that. So you're going to view that work, that album, as the tipping point of like, that's past their prime, because that album didn't give me the same feeling that it did when I was, 15 years old, and it completely changed my worldview on music. And oh my God. And like, I remember he was, they were speaking about the same things that I was going through. It's like, we've all probably done that. with albums, and we all have our own tipping points, I think, with certain bands. And as always, it's always subjective. So, what do you think of the This is a little question for Mez here. So I was trying to think, okay, what are the actual like elements? What are the quadrants? What's the criteria that constitutes an artist being past their prime? Do you want me to read the ones I have?
Yeah, go on.
So I think you have to look at it commercially.
Yeah.
You have to look at it from a critical standpoint, as in like a critical performance. The songs that are played on the subsequent tours, because we all know the bands that like release the album that like doesn't really do well, and then you might get like the one song, and then it doesn't get played ever again,
like the single or something.
Yeah. How the album afterwards performs. And one that I thought was interesting was any of the songs which get mentioned in casual conversation. So for instance, if I would say to you, what's a band we both like?
Pantera.
Name me 5 Pantera songs off the bat.
Off the bat, Mouth for War, Strength Beyond Strength, Cowboys from Hell, Cemetery Gates, and I'm going to go for a curveball. Yesterday don't mean shit.
Little cheeky curveball. So there are going to be the obvious ones that people say.
Yes.
Like if I was saying like casual conversation, if you even bring it up to like just in a random pub talk, you would probably get the Walks and the Cowboys from Hell and stuff. Because we're mega fans, you did go for Reinventing the Steel. So I think my way that, you know, was trying to do was people don't really mention Reinventing the Steel, do they?
I suppose that's something else to consider, because there's songs I love just generally, not necessarily to do with Pantera, but everybody else's opinion on it is, I hate that. And it's like, why do I like that? This is what you said. Obviously, it's subjective and it changes and stuff.
With my choice, I'm going to ask you that question later on. And I guarantee that you probably will pick one of the songs off of that album, but it'll be an obvious reason why. Do you want to go first, Mez, or do you think,
I'll go first.
Yeah, you're going to check yourself in the deep end?
Yeah.
What album have you picked for a selection of or not selection, what was it? For an example of an artist being past their prime?
I have picked World on Fire by Yngwie Malmsteen. Now,
oh, good lordy. I mean, who is Yngwie Malmsteen, James? You know, a lot of people might be asking.
Yngwie Malmsteen is a neoclassical guitarist from Sweden. He is not hugely well known. He has 400,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Now, as much as if I had 400,000 monthly listeners, I'd be made up.
Yeah.
For someone who's been going since the early 80s, that's not a whole lot, really.
No.
But he caters to one genre, and that's it. You know what I mean? There's no like.
He's never like really changed up his style or tried any experimenting. It is just neoclassical shred guitar.
Yes, and he's very, very technically able. But in recent years, and even his fans, in fact, I'm going to be referencing a few things.
I love this.
Even his fans have openly admitted that he is not the absolute Blaze King that he was in the
Blaze King.
80s. Well,
I'd love to have that nickname.
Blazing.
There he is. That's James Merritt. He's Blaze King.
Blaze King.
Why am I doing Northern again?
Because
we're from the South, that's why.
Yeah.
We don't mean any disrespect, people at the North, but I think it's more the homage to Marcus Rudd. Marcus Rudd, I hope you're listening to this.
So yes, I've quoted. I've taken a few things from the YouTuber Six String TV. He is from Germany. He is actually a very good musician himself. I really enjoy watching his videos. He's really entertaining, along with KDH, Keelan Hughes.
We love KDH, don't we?
He's fantastic. What does he call it? His audio audits,
and his exposed ones are great.
Yeah, fantastic. If you're a music fan, I highly recommend.
We shall put a link to his channel in the really description.
Cool. It'd be great to get him on at some point. That'd be lovely.
Great, wouldn't it?
Yes. So Six String TV, KDH. I've watched their videos on the particular matter. The reason why they were making a video on it is because Six String is a huge Yngwie Malmsteen fan. He's an enormous Yngwie fan. And he made a video, basically, he called it The Fall of a King. Because, as I haven't got round to explaining yet, Yngwie, though technically gifted he is, in recent years, he has been in a steady decline. In terms of songwriting, playing live, just not great.
But he putting on the air and grace that he's still the best.
Yes.
And he's what was the nickname again?
The Blaze King.
He's still the Blaze King.
However, I mean, people have described in that Ingve or any of your management team. I'm well aware that if anyone listens to this and wants to think about blocking us, I am quoting. I'm not insulting. I am not inciting that people shouldn't listen to him. I highly recommend it. Early Ingve is fantastic. Very good.
It's got its time and place. You know what I mean?
It absolutely has. But don't try and take me to court because I'll call you a silly goose.
I'll listen twice as hard.
Yeah. So we'll start with lyrics, I think.
Go on then.
We'll start talking about his lyrics. Now, the quality's been on a steady decline since the 90s.
Wow, it's quite a long time. That's like 30 years.
That is 30 years. The themes are usually epic, fantasy, fast cars.
He loves his cars, doesn't he?
He loves a Ferrari. Love and heartbreak, wars and fighting. It's one of them.
Okay.
It's one of them. And it's steadily and consistently them. In fact, I have a little game.
I do love a game.
I have some lyrics from Yngwie Malmsteen songs, and I have some lines and quotes from fantasy movies. Now, what we're going to do is I am going to read one and say, Marv, what do you think it is? Is it a line from an Yngwie Malmsteen song, or is it a line from a fantasy movie?
This is going to be tough because I don't watch movies.
No, you don't.
But that shouldn't factor into this.
So the first one goes like this. Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for? Is it a fantasy movie or is it an Yngwie
the
song?
thing is, it rhymes, doesn't it? That's the problem. I'm going to go Yngwie.
You're incorrect. It is a line that Gimli says in Lord of the Rings.
Who's the Lord of the Ring? He can't answer it, so he's watched all the films.
Yeah, you need to.
All right, that was for Jake.
Next one. In the time when darkness ruled, no one saw the light. In the cold black emptiness, victims of the night.
Oh, that's such a good opening to a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can already hear like that. You know, it's
in the time when darkness ruled and no one saw the light. In the cold black emptiness, victims of the night.
Thing is, it's too good to not be an Yngwie lyric. I'm going to go Yngwie.
You're correct.
Yes.
The song's called Dark Ages.
Yes.
And it's from the album World on Fire, which is the one I listened to. I also listened to his first album being Trilogy.
To kind of get the comparison.
To get like it's mind-blowing.
Wow.
It is excellent. But yeah. So we have the next one. I know what I do will always be true. My world is real and I do what I feel because I'm stronger than steel. I'm stronger than steel.
Now, I think I remember that from listening to World on Fire.
Okay.
So I'm going to say Yngwie.
You're correct.
Yes.
It's from the song called Lost in the Machine.
And that is from World on Fire, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
So we have two more. If he's ready to lay a dragon in its grave, he's nothing to fear from me.
Oh. Movie.
Yeah, Dragon Slayer, 1981.
Nice.
And the last one.
Go on, make it epic.
Fight to the end. Conquer the enemy. As far as the eye can see, I see my victory.
Oh, the problem is these all be fucking banging Yngwie lyrics. Law of Average, I'm going to have to go Yngwie.
Correct.
Yes,
From the
let's
song
go.
Soldier. So yes, it's very much a thing like that. Where it's either fantasy. I mean, primarily those were fantasy or fighting, or love and heartbreak, and fast.
They're all like
he loves it.
They're all like what the hero of the fantasy film will be saying.
It's like when he was a child, his mum read him like a fantasy book.
Yeah,
and he literally went, "There's me. I am the hero of the time." I am the hero. And he drew a sword. I reckon he's one of those blokes that's got like either real military history, like swords and shields.
Yeah.
Or he's got like replicas on his wall.
I reckon he's got Blaze King embedded in a sword.
Yeah.
Above his studio.
On the other thing I was going to say was he definitely has a painting of himself, Renaissance style. Like slicing like a mythological beast or something.
Like a Les Paul or something.
Yeah, literally. He definitely. I'm so sure of this.
He has to.
So sure.
Yngwie, show us.
So World on Fire is the 20th studio album. 20th studio album.
Fair enough.
By Swedish virtuoso guitar player Yngwie Malmsteen, and the 8th under this moniker.
Okay.
So he has an array of different names. We have Yngwie Malmsteen, Yngwie J. Malmsteen, Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, or if you're feeling really on the ball, Yngwie J. Malmsteen's Rising Force.
They're just too similar. Why? Why?
I don't know. What I love is when you've got the Yngwie J. Malmsteen, because you'll get mixed up with all the other Yngwie Malmsteens.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
common.
Throughout his discography, these 4 names continuously crop up.
And they all, so like that was all meant kind of like in a way to denote like they're different types of music. That's how I would take it. If you have a different moniker, it's kind of for different types of musical things. But as we've already established,
it ain't different.
He just does neoclassical shred guitar.
Yes. Now, Six String TV made the point of, he was like, maybe it's just how he was sort of feeling on the day. If he's feeling sort of chilled out, he'll just go Yngwie Malmsteen. If he's feeling a little bit feisty, but not like full barrel,
little fiery,
he's Yngwie J. Malmsteen.
Yeah.
If he's been forced to take his little brother, he's Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force. And if he's feeling really confident and he's got his little brother with him, it's Yngwie J. Malmsteen's.
They're all getting along.
Force. Yeah. Initially, it was programmed for April 2016, but then it was released. It was released. Literally. Released on June the 1st via Rising Force Records and Nexus. Who do you reckon owns Rising Force?
I don't know who owns Rising Force. Is it Yngwie James Malmsteen III?
It could be. Could well be.
Could well be.
So, second album in which he sang, and it was the only one to feature drummer Mark Ellis. Don't know why. Because
Yngwie does all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is what I read up. I was like, he does the bass,
sense.
He does the keyboards. There's even like a lot of these songs have choir in them, whether it's like a choir sound on a keyboard or it's actually a choir.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine. So it's 44 minutes, 23 seconds long. It was recorded in Miami.
Nice.
And personnel. Yngwie J. Malmsteen, guitar, vocal, bass, guitar, keyboard, cello.
Not to be confused with Yngwie Malmsteen.
No. Sitar.
Yeah.
He also produced it, he arranged it, and he did all the orchestration.
I'm not surprised. It sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yngwie has an enormous ego, as we've already touched upon. One of his biggest influences is a man called Ritchie Blackmore. Now, if you haven't heard of Ritchie Blackmore, folks, he is the guitarist of Deep Purple, and he is also extremely egotistical. They met once.
Yeah.
Ritchie Blackmore just looked at him and went, "People say we sound similar. We sound nothing alike. You'll never be half the guitarist I am."
Wow.
Imagine your hero saying that to you.
I mean, is he wrong though?
No, but that's off record. I was only joking, Yngwie's management. Please don't sue me. No, he's not. He tours alone.
Who, Yngwie?
Yeah.
So he does everything at the track?
No, he hires what seems to be local wedding musicians. Genuinely.
Yngwie, if you're listening, mate, I will play.
Yeah, same.
I do know the harmonic minor scale.
Same.
I can do it for you.
I think I can muster up a diminished sweep arpeggio pattern at some point. Oh no, I won't need to. He's got that covered. And he stuffs them in the corner of the stage.
Good Lord.
So he can have the rest of the space. So there was also this trend where his social media manager kept posting this photo of him in the studio holding one of his signature Strats.
Yeah.
And over the top it says, "It's not arrogance, it's confidence."
I mean, true. Kind of true.
Amazing. And also there is a story of Yngwie playing live and the drummer counted in.
Mm-hmm.
And Yngwie lost it with him.
Yeah.
Because he counted in and went, "I am the metronome, not you." And he threatened to kill him. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, so how do you count a song in an Yngwie J. Malmsteen's Rising Force concert? Does he go 1, 2, 3, 4?
I guess so. I don't know, but he threatened to kill him. And over the years, he has become sloppy, and some songs on this album really show that. There are points where his time is everywhere. There are similar licks in nearly every single song. So when it gets to the solo, I'm like, how does he know to put the solo here? Because most of the song's already been solo.
I think I put it in my notes. Every single guitar part in any what you can deem as a structure of the song is just shredding. It's just solo.
That's all it is.
There's no like guitar figure apart from some of the acoustic songs,
which I actually quite like. The acoustic.
I don't mind them. I think they're pretty nice.
They're a welcome break from constant.
And it really is 45 minutes of that, which I've never really heard a single album like all the way through of Yngwie or Yngwie J. Malmsteen or whatever Rising Force. I'm going to assume that it is basically that. Every single album is that. It's just decreased in quality.
So, somewhat, yes. The first album I listened to, Trilogy, which is the one. Oh my God, it's so good. We'll have to put a link of a photo to it, but it's a painting of him holding a Stratocaster, fighting a 3-headed dragon. It's amazing. It's literally, the man is a meme. The man is a meme.
Meme before memes.
Yeah. He kills me. He was discovered by Shrapnel Records. Through a demo tape. He briefly played with a band called Steeler. To make an album called, you guessed it, Steeler, which no one knows about, but is actually really good because it's early Yngwie, so it's gonna be good. Yeah, it's he just kills me. He absolutely ruins me because the man is just unbelievable. Like the way he puts himself forward, the leather and the open shirts down to the chest.
It's like so dated, isn't it? But he's really stuck consistently to that. So you got to kind of commend him. Like, you know, the classic thing of AC/DC never changing their sound. Fair enough. Like, but he is literally this, like, he's just been the same person. For 40 years.
I mean, when he was 10, he created his first band called Track on Earth. Himself and a friend playing drums. At age 12, he took his mother's maiden name, Malmsteen.
Nice.
As his surname.
His first moniker.
Oh, sorry, no, it was Malmsten.
So that's even another one.
He changed it to Malmsteen. Okay. Oh, he's known as a number of things. He was born Lars Johan Yngwie Lannerbach. And he is known as Lars Johan Yngwie or Lars Y. Loudamp or Yngwie J. Malmsteen. Yeah, this is a man of many names.
Who is this guy?
A man of many personalities.
Making me cough,
as a teenager, he was heavily influenced by classical music, particularly 19th century Italian virtuoso violinist and composer Paganini.
Again, I can hear that, and it's cool that he has that influence.
Yes,
but then again, what then becomes the meme is that especially in like all of the grunge bands that came up in the 90s when they were trying to form bands in like the 80s when the hardcore scene come up and like the early grunge scene, that it was like, oh, you don't have to be a singer with like a 4 or 5 octave range. You don't have to be a guitarist where their inspiration is like a classical pianist and someone who's not a guitar player, but like that's where the meme comes from.
Yes.
Like he literally is, like he did that concert, I think he called it his masterpiece, right? In 2000
with the orchestra.
With the orchestra.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because it has a context, it has a purpose.
Exactly.
And it works.
Exactly. But this is the point. This is where I'd look to, if I became as good as Yngwie at neoclassical, I'm talking early 80s Yngwie.
Of course.
At neoclassical shredding, that's where I'd place myself.
Yeah.
In an orchestra. But he hasn't done that. And I don't think he could do that because his ego's too big.
Yeah.
During this time, he also discovered his most important guitar influence, Ritchie Blackmore.
Who plays?
Guitar.
And specifically what guitar?
A Fender Stratocaster.
And what does Yngwie J. Malmsteen's Rising Force play?
Yngwie plays a Fender Stratocaster.
He does, but he has a little scallopy, fretty things.
Fretboards. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and other individuals.
What is a scalloped fretboard, James?
A scalloped fretboard is where instead of most fretboards would be sort of flat and you can press the string down, there's like a ridge, like a U shape in it.
Like someone took like a little like wood carver and just like knocked it out a little bit, like a fingernail.
Which is fine, but I've played scalloped fretboards. They aren't for me.
No.
He claims you could really grab the note by the balls. But I'm not really that.
Sometimes I just want to grab the note.
Do you want to know what his demo tape was called, by the way?
Go on.
Powerhouse. I love this guy.
Very good.
I love this guy so much. Even if he was nice, I'd probably dislike him.
Yeah.
As soon as he's not, that contributes to me and appeals to my sense of humor.
I'd love to meet him.
Oh, I bet he's great.
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
I bet he's great. I bet he'd just look through you. I bet he'd be a real dick about it, and I'd love it. It'd be so funny because, like I said, the man is a walking meme. Yeah, it's just hilarious. It is just hilarious. This is quite funny.
Go on.
So he was in Alcatraz. Graham Bonnet.
I'm aware of Alcatraz. Yeah.
Graham Bonnet was in Rainbow for a short time.
He was he the Since You've Been Gone singer?
Yes, that's Graham.
He is the guy who sings Since You've Been Gone.
So he was in Alcatraz playing on their first album, No Parole from Rock and Roll. And he's also great, isn't it? And he's also on the live album, Live Sentence.
Yeah.
Why
is it all about jail?
Oh, who knows? But Graham Bonnet, the singer, and Yngwie Malmsteen clashed about who was the front man and had a fight during the show. Malmsteen was fired on the spot.
You're a guitar player, mate.
And replaced by Steve Vai. What an upgrade. Vai had one day to learn the songs.
And I bet he smashed it.
Oh, of course he did. It's Steve Vai.
Good Lord.
But yeah, in 1984, Malmsteen released one of his first albums, Rising Force. Barry Barlow of Jethro Tull was on drums. Okay. And keyboard player Jens Johansson.
Would you say that is his best album?
Rising Force. It's definitely up there. I really like Trilogy because it's just got some great stuff. And there's a painting of him fighting a 3-headed dragon beast on the cover. It's fantastic. Nice. But it started well, and then it kind of declined. We've got Eclipse, Fire and Ice, The Seventh Sign, Magnum Opus, which features Vengeance.
Nice.
I love Vengeance. Magnum Opus is not his Magnum Opus. I will argue that to
the meme and irony of that.
I will die on that hill quite happily. He's
so what you're saying there is that his Magnum Opus is him past his prime.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, because your example is showing an album like who someone is really past their prime. You're not showing the tipping point.
No.
But if you were to say where the tipping point was now, looking back, where do you think the tipping point is? I mean, obviously, like you've not listened to every single Malmsteen album, but like maybe based off what you know, where do you think was the tipping point where I was like, right, here was his peak?
I think it was probably Odyssey's good.
Mm-hmm. What year is that?
88.
88. So really, just as 80s.
I believe Eclipse is also good. That's 90. Yeah. Fire and Ice is when it starts. Seventh Sign is a bit of a nosedive. Magnum Opus, I only really know Vengeance off that.
So really, like a decade?
Yeah, but also you've got the Concerto Suite for electric guitar and orchestra.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Attack's really good as well. If you can find, in fact, I'll find it on here now. The cover for Attack is funny.
Okay.
It's just been on a steady decline for some time,
but he doesn't think that.
Nope.
But everyone can hear it.
Yeah. There's even clips of him playing some of his classic songs like Far Beyond the Sun.
Yeah.
And it's just not good. It's just not good, like at all. Which is a shame because he used to be utterly fantastic.
Well, what do you think is the solution then?
I don't know, but it certainly ain't this. I can tell you that.
Really bad,
isn't it?
That's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Do you want to somehow?
I'll see if I can show the folks.
Somehow show the folks. I mean, if not, I can just put up a little thing. But go on. That's really... Isn't that though? Really bad. No, really bad.
I'll get back behind the microphone.
Go on, get back. You got a nice slanted pose there.
Yeah. But it's just been consistently getting worse and worse. And I'm interested to know where it ends.
Does it end with him either? Because he had a car crash, didn't he? And he was in a coma for like a week.
Yes.
And then he had to like learn to reuse his hand or like
So he
some
broke his
variation
arm.
of that.
Yeah, he broke his arm and he had to pick slightly differently with like his thumb and his finger rather than his whole wrist.
Do you think that contributed to anything, or that make him
No,
better?
because it made him better. It made him be able to play as quick as he can.
Okay.
But the unfortunate thing tends to come from the fact that the songs are uninspired, the lyrics aren't very good. It's the same sounding stuff over and over again. And I used to be a large Iron Maiden fan. I know what the same thing sounds like over and over again, even when you're a fan. So you got to hit a point where you go, I've had enough of this. Like I can't listen to this anymore. I'd really like to go and see him live because I'd be interested to see number one what he plays, like how much of it is early stuff, how much of it is here's my new album, like we were saying earlier about the whole you'll hear a single, and that'll be sort of it if it's not received well. I'd also be very interested to see what he actually is like live.
I'd want to see what this band. Like if let's say we watched them in Bristol, I'd be like, I know that guy. I know that woman. This is really weird.
Yeah.
Hang on, why am I getting up on stage? I'd do that. So literally all I would need is the choir setting.
I've even got a off-white Stratocaster with a big 70s headset.
Yeah, but he never let you play that.
Yeah, but
can you imagine?
Yeah, true. I'd have to be out back, plugged into a little rolling.
I play the Stratocaster, not you. I don't know why he's Arnie, but
I'll bring the Telecaster instead. He'd be fine with that. Yeah, it's weird, man. The amount of he's just, I don't know. He's just a different breed entirely. I mean, as we all know, classically, guitarists are known for their egos and they're known for being difficult to work with and stuff. But he is just, it's like it's an act. It's like he's gone, how can I get as much attention as humanly possible?
But his guitar playing is that. His guitar playing is so brash and in your face.
It is.
And I think, again, but like we'll get a little bit musical theory, like he uses a very classical music scale, the harmonic minor. It's very synonymous with classical music and
diminished runs and stuff like that.
It grabs your attention.
It does.
Those notes in that order and those combinations.
It grabs you by the buzz.
It literally grabs you by whatever you've got down there. Or especially on World on Fire album, it's 16th notes or it's 30-second notes. There's no chill. It is just full on. And I even thought the drums were fake just because of the way they were processed. But it goes into that thing like we sometimes chat about with instrumental shred guitar albums, is that it really doesn't matter what the other instruments are doing. It's all about the guitar.
It's always double kick. That's all it ever is. And you're absolutely right. Its purpose is to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you something else I noticed, you rarely hear rhythm guitar under it. It's usually just bass and keyboard.
There was like a couple of times where he played rhythm guitar, but not
hugely,
while the solos were playing or the other guitar part.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. And I mean, he's clearly very, very good. He's a gifted musician, but
he's still good.
Of course he is.
You can't say
but it's just the same over and over again. And I noticed he's got a bit of a how do I put this? There is somewhat a structure to his solos.
Yeah.
Now, often it will just be absolute nonsense, just full on. But I'll tell you what an interesting thing is. So on this album, I can't remember, it might be Soldier. I can't remember the song specifically.
One of the songs with Malmsteen singing.
Might be.
I think it is.
There's a point where he goes into pentatonic and blues, and I'm like, oh, like it really perked up. And I was like, oh, right. But because you're so used to that constant shredding in harmonic minor with the diminished arpeggio runs and stuff like that, it hit me harder than anything else. I was like, oh, there's a blues note.
By him playing less, it actually gave you more of a kind of emotion reaction.
He's got feel. He can play with feel. Like he has it.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't. He chooses not to. The structure usually follows as like a really quick shreddy bit, maybe like half a bar, and then he'll overbend a note or he'll give it too much vibrato. There's like a and he always goes for the same bloody note every time. Obviously in different keys. I'm speaking formulaically. I'm not
course.
speaking exactly the same pitch.
Yeah.
But he always goes for the same note in the sequence. And it's so obvious. And then you've got the like
Yeah.
but really quick. And then
Is that like the pedal tone thing?
Yes.
He like plays one note that's the same, and then he'll play another note, like an alternating note. Yeah.
Runs down the scale. Yeah. He does that a lot. He also has what is it?
Bumblebee kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like the same three notes again. In fact, there's a section in Vengeance where he plays these three notes, and that was released in like 1995.
Yeah.
He was using the exact same three notes in this album released in 2016, and I was like, dude,
you're kind of summing it up really.
Man,
like I think he, so like, to kind of defend this album or defend Yngwie as an artist, okay, if he's past his prime, like,
oh, I will be defending it.
Everyone has to be like, you can't always be on top forever.
No, you can. That is a simple fact.
But I think that Yngwie is more talented than he is on his albums. Yes. I think that he loves that sound. He loves classical music so much.
He does love that sound.
That's what he just wants to do. He just wants to do that all the time, all the way through. He knows exactly what works. He doesn't mind. Okay, I'll play this lick for 25 years.
Yes.
I'll play this. I'll play that. Again, we just listened to the new Metallica song, and
underwhelming.
It was underwhelming. It'll probably get better for me, but like, again, Kirk Hammett solos. I know that Kirk Hammett is better than the solos that he does on record because
for sure.
He has to do what's good for the band.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely something to consider. If you're Yngwie and your albums are selling, are you going to put much effort into writing and producing?
There's no pressure there, is there?
Yeah, just because they're selling. Also, you own the label that you put in music out on. So
and people are still coming to see you.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not going to get refused. People worship you like a god. So why worry about it? I mean, I'm going to defend this album now.
Let's defend it.
I enjoyed the album structurally, where the songs are placed. I like it.
Yeah.
Because you've got like, I think it's 2 or 3 really fast, like, and then there's a bit of singing, and then you've got an acoustic tune. Then you've got a few more songs. Then you've got another acoustic instrumental that morphs and changes.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's spaced out. There is a break in it. You know what I mean?
It has a pacing.
Yes. It's not just here's a load of songs slapped together.
No.
It's 45 minutes. So in terms of albums, it's not really that long.
Didn't feel that long either.
No. I've listened to it twice or three times.
Thricely.
And I picked something new out of it every single time. I was able to hear something new. It's not, this is the thing, it's not objectively a bad album. I could understand why people won't flock to it, but it's not a bad album. His playing's not dreadful. There are a few points where he's out of time. There are a few points where he's picked the same notes, where the lyrics are a little bit uninspired, but wholly, it's all right. It's good. If my introduction to Yngwie Malmsteen was that album, I wouldn't never listen to him again.
That's what I feel about that.
Yeah, there we go.
You make a point though, and I think I can fluctuate this point. Fluctuate? What's the thing? Execute this point. Elaborate. If your first foray, which for me, that was my first ever time listening to a full album of Yngwie Malmsteen. Now chatting to you and being like, right, this is Yngwie past his prime. I know exactly what I'm getting with Yngwie. If all of his albums are basically shredding instrumentals, some of them have lyrics.
Yeah.
And also as a side note, I think him playing acoustic suits him way better. For me, definitely. I want to hear more of that. Definitely. So to now know that I'm like, right, there's a more refined, there's a more peak version.
Yeah.
And I mean peak in like the top sense of Yngwie that I can go and listen to.
Yeah.
It's like what I said earlier about if you put an expectation on an artist and then you kind of ultimately doesn't live up to it. Now I know that I can go back and listen to Vengeance. And what was his first album called?
Rising Force.
I can go listen to Rising Force and be like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Because those crazy arpeggios are going to be in time.
Yes.
And it's going to surpass my expectation of what I think Yngwie should be because I've heard him not at his prime. So really it kind of works. It works in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I have to agree on that. Like I said, the live shows I didn't analyze as closely as I did the album. However, there are quite a few bits live where he's trying to play certain bits and he maybe isn't as quick as he used to be or whatever. But yeah, it's not dreadful. I don't have that much of an issue with it. Yeah. And yeah, I suppose it's important to keep in mind, isn't it? Being judgmental and stuff. I've definitely heard worse music. Definitely heard worse music. But
do you mean worse like shred music or worse music in the same vein as like neoclassical guitar? Or?
I mean, I don't know a whole lot of neoclassical shred guitarists.
He's the only guy I know.
The closest thing I can relate to this is Paco de Lucia.
Paco de Lucia, oh, well, absolute beast.
Different league entirely. But
are you saying maybe his peers, people of his same age, like he's similar ages, like the Metallica lot came out around that time?
Well, yeah.
All the shred lot, thrash lot, like there are, like we said, like with the Dave Mustaine of Megadeth thing. Okay, the songs are tuned down a lot, and there's that claim by. Is it like one of the early Megadeth guitar players or like something like that where like, oh, he can't even play the early stuff anymore. Whereas Yngwie, he can still play it.
Yeah. It's just
okay. Maybe he's like a bit fast before the click or before the drums. And it's like noticeably a little bit out of time. Yeah. But like he's still playing as fast as he was on record.
This is kind of the thing, isn't it? I mean, I had this conversation with somebody the other day. They were just kind of like, have you heard the new Metallica song yet? And I went, no, I've heard a clip and it's just like, it seems quite slow and quite ploddy.
Mm-hmm.
And their response was sort of like, yeah, they're rubbish now, aren't they really? And I said, well, they're not rubbish. I mean, if I hit my 60s and I could still play Master at that speed, you know what I mean? I'd be all right with that at that point.
I can't even play Master at like 3/4 speed.
Tell me about it. And I'm a third of their age, really. Yeah, so it's I think you got to take the rough with the smooth very much, haven't you?
Exactly. Here's a question I would ask you then. When do you think Yngwie will get to a point where he can't play that? You've probably asked me that. I can't remember if we did it, but like, do you think in the next 10 years you're going to hear an Yngwie album and be like, oh wow, this is really, really comped together. I can tell that he can't play it fast anymore.
He is currently 59.
59, yep.
I mean, he has got good technique, like in terms of picking and stuff like that. I honestly don't know.
There's no reason why he can't play like that till his 80s, until his 85.
Yeah, but you've got things like arthritis, haven't you, that could take hold.
True.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Go listen to that album. Go listen to Vengeance. Do whatever you got to do. Get your Neo Shred on, and then that's all good. Shall I do my album then?
Let's go.
I like that. Right. So the album I've picked is Witness by Katy Perry. I wanted to go a bit pop because I thought, pop music seems to be the thing for me where you can see someone's past their prime.
Yeah.
Definitely in terms of like, okay. There you go. My cough's latching onto you. No. If you're a little teeny bopper and you've got to kind of like get into your 20s, what do you do? How do you change your image? And then that can always be like a misstep. Or if you've 20 years down the line, I look at someone like Britney Spears.
Yes,
her mid-noughties work apparently is very, very good.
I believe it.
And now that she's in at least her late 30s, maybe probably even 40s now, she's definitely past her prime.
I'd say so.
Like her early work's way more celebrated.
Yeah, in terms of vocals and
just in terms of everything, song, aesthetic, who she is as a person, she's just grown up. So sometimes you might have to just go like, I'm going to exit this pop world.
Yeah, this is something else. It's like with Bieber. Bieber did it, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
It was very sort of washed down, candy flossy.
Very, very teeny boppy, very love songs, yeah.
But now I think, as we've discussed before, he seems to do something and everyone lashes onto it and goes, oh, we got to do that now. Like he's very much a trend setting and excellent as well. Excellent. I love Peaches. Love it so much.
Very good song.
Stay.
I adore that song. I think it's great.
Again, you know what I mean?
But what's good, what's interesting here is that Bieber's next album might be the tipping point for him if he's past his prime.
Yeah, quite possibly.
He's going to be nearly 30.
I also loved Cold Water, which was a couple of years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago, but it was like a transitioning point, wasn't it? Because you obviously think of Baby and stuff like that. But now it's very mature. So it's like people like Britney Spears now, they're probably gonna have to go, right, I need to reinvent myself.
Yes.
I need to find a different way of doing stuff and not do it the way your pick
That
decided
Katy
to.
Perry's decided to kind of do
Oh dear.
it. That'll be another future episode of when bands
Reinvention.
reunite.
Yeah.
And Take That will not be on that list because Take That did it wonderfully.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about Katy Perry in 2013, shall we? So she was a mega star at this point, 2013.
Oh, yeah.
Her albums were selling like nobody's business. She was the pop star of the moment. Like her songs were just everywhere. Her look was iconic. Like she was the zeitgeist for pop music.
Was
Katy
this before
Perry.
she started doing adverts for Just Eat?
This is way before.
Because I feel
Because
like
now that's her contribution,
I
right?
was gonna say, weirdly enough, I feel like there's gonna be a generation eventually where it's gonna be like, is that the Katy Perry, what, the singer for Just Eat?
Yeah, or like
It's
similar,
gonna be a
like
reference, isn't it?
the woman on the Just Eat advert, she was a pop singer.
Same with like Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, but like
But he is known for what he
That's
should
what it
be
is.
known for. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
This is all part of it. I say something, you say something.
Part of the combo.
All part of the combo. But so since returning to music and releasing One of the Boys in 2008, she's had nothing but a rise in her career. Now, when I say since returning to music, yes, she did release an album under her own name, Katie Hudson. In 2001 as a teenager. It was Christian music.
Yes.
It did not sell very well. And she kind of spent 7 years just bobbing along, bobbing and weaving through life. So
that's fair.
So yes, 2013, she's killing it. She's got Raw. She's got there's another song. Firework was the one beforehand.
Okay.
She had another song that was along with Raw. Oh, Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
So she took a break after releasing Prism, the 2013 album, which I said has Raw, Dark Horse on it.
Yes.
She wanted to get her mental health in a better shape. Fair enough.
Respect that, yeah.
She also decided to cut her hair and go by a real name, which is Catherine Hudson.
How interesting.
Now, I didn't hear that. Again, I wasn't a Katy Perry fan. I'm not a Katy Perry fan. I remember all of these kind of, kicking off and whatnot. But anyway, so she was trying to separate herself from the Katy Perry that she was involved in, like the celebrity persona. So like, as, you got with the David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust thing, there's this thing where does the line of David Bowie and Ziggy Stardust like start and end? What happened was he kind of just became Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
He invented this character to kind of separate himself from the stardom, but like really he was that rock star. So she kind of was doing the same thing. She had her natural blonde hair. She cut it into like a pixie kind of cut. So like she is naturally blonde, which I didn't realize. So what we're seeing now is this true, authentic self of Katy Perry, or like as true as an authentic self as she can be, because you've got all the weirdos in the world that, you can't literally be your true self as a mega pop star, can you? Really? If you've ever watched the Catfish episode of the guy, and they said Catfist then, don't I? Catfist.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Catfish episode where this guy is convinced that Katy Perry's speaking to him. And even after they say, look, it's not. Here is the person you've been speaking to. And then the next day he's like, yeah, it's weird because I think Katy Perry sent her down to like kind of distract you. It is
delusion.
Yeah, so you don't want to be your true self. She also decided not to collaborate with Dr. Luke anymore, who's a songwriter and producer. Obviously around this time, I'd say 2011 to about it started 2011. So there was a court case he was having with Kesha, and that's regarded, SA and things of that nature. Very adult nature. So you obviously do not want to be associated with something like that. No. Katy Perry was also kind of mentioned by name in this court case as well, because Kesha was alleging that Katy Perry and Dr. Luke, something happened there. Which I think got proven to be false, but I actually don't know. Again, this episode's not about that. So Witness gets released on June 9th, 2017. This is a brand new Katy Perry record. And on the day of its release, she does, Catherine, by the way, not Katie, she does a 4-day YouTube live stream.
4 days straight.
4-day YouTube live stream, essentially doing Big Brother. So,
right.
But people like allowed in that. So for anyone who doesn't know what Big Brother is, it was a TV show. I seen it in the UK in 99, 2000. It was on Channel 5. all these random people get chucked into her house. They can't go outside. They don't know anything about the world around them, and they just have to interact. And the first winner was a guy called Craig, and he was a builder.
Yes.
And I think he won 70 grand, and he donated it to some sick, ill girl.
And then he decided to go on DIY SOS.
He did. Fair enough.
Because Mags, my mum, Margaret Mags.
My mum, Margaret Mags. She's got as many monikers as Ingve.
Nearly. She always used to watch DIY SOS and get excited and used to call him Cutie Craig.
Oh, Cutie Craig. If we can get Cutie Craig and Mags together.
Nah, she's with Dickie.
I'm not saying that your mum should run away with Craig from DIY SOS and Big Brother fame. I'm just saying
first winner of Big Brother. Yeah.
I'm just saying maybe you go on cameo.com and you find and see if he has a little thing, Cutie Craig, and you go, right, here's a little message to Mags. Say that to her. And then let Rich give her the message. So yeah, she basically did a Big Brother for 4 days. And we get to see her being her true self, you know.
That's interesting, yeah.
You know, look, she does everything we do. She eats food, and she, you know, had people over for dinner and stuff, and walking her dog, and wow, she's just so like her. She's like so like us. You know, she just decided to film it. Whereas we don't do that. Imagine, I mean, would you want to watch a 4-day live stream of me just in this house?
Not really. Don't take that to heart.
I don't take that to heart because literally I'd be sat here banging on a pad, making music, going to the bathroom, coming back with pancakes. And that'd be it.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You really, really don't want that.
Not really.
But I'd watch you for 4 days.
Would you?
Depends what room. Could I stick it to one room? I'd want to stick it to the living room purely because you take your girlfriend and your mum to work like early. And if you're a musician, early is like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
But you take them for 9 a.m. So you're getting up early, right?
I am.
I'd like to see you come back, have some brekkie, have a cup of coffee, get on the sofa, and then just fall asleep because you must be so knackered.
That is what happened today.
You must be so knackered. I don't know if Katy Perry fell asleep, you know. She probably went to sleep, but who knows?
Probably slept in 4 days.
And she also had like a therapy session, I think, during this time, and she talked about like suicidal thoughts and like not her approach to alcohol, like her use of alcohol. I don't think she's an alcoholic, but like she abused it and things like that. And there was a legitimacy issue of like, you know, is she actually being really authentic, or is this kind of like just a thing to promote the album?
Show,
yeah, because the album was kind of like promoted to be like she's being mature, this is what she's really wanted to write, and you're kind of getting an inner glimpse of Katy Perry.
Yeah,
I don't know that because I've never listened to another Katy Perry album all the way through, but fair enough. If this is what she sounds like being herself, then that's all I can take it as.
Yeah.
It's a very unique thing to do, promote an album. I've never heard anyone else go, right, I'm going to do 4-day live stream on the day my album comes out to sync up with who I am as a real person, because you don't know me.
No, it is quite an interesting way of doing it.
It is. But the thing that I would say is, would she do this if she didn't have an album to promote?
Probably not.
So does that then throw into question, like, is she doing it for the legitimate reasons? Does she really want you to know who she is? Could she do it without an album release?
I mean, maybe. I don't know, to be completely honest with you.
And how much did it cost?
A lot.
That's what I mean. It's just like it's this weird line of like, okay, you do want to know like the inner workings of like your favorite musicians and stuff. It is very cool when you find this thing of like, oh, they like this, or like, wow, they're opening up about this. I didn't know this information before. But then they're just human beings. Some of their stuff some of the things they do are just very boring. And I don't want to know the inner workings of some of my best friends.
This is the thing, isn't it? You do have to weigh that up. I mean, I've often said I'm not overly interested in fame. I do think there would be a lot of aspects of it that would be very fun.
Of course.
But going to the shop to get something and it's like, he's buying a loaf of Hovis. Oh my. Oh my! I'd find that incredibly weird.
James Merritt in multi-seed shock.
James Merritt buys 18,000 for very.
But like that still happens now.
It does.
It still happens now.
That's mainly because the media is still very much a large
weird
Yeah,
place.
And social media. I mean, it picks it up further, doesn't it?
It does. So, like, this is the album that we're going into of like, okay, we're gonna see the inner workings of Catherine. It's still labeled as Katy Perry because it has to sell. There is a risk involved there that Katy Perry sings these very global, and like I said about Oasis, global songs that like are not necessarily about her, but like fans can latch onto, and you can say, this is about me. This is the same struggle I have. But what you're doing now is you're going, I, the artist, am going through this. I hope that you're going through it too, because you can connect.
Yes.
And if the music doesn't necessarily back it up, it can be quite hard to then get that across, because you can have a good lyric, but if the music's crap, I just don't care.
This is kind of the issue, isn't it? I mean, connection with music's always been a subjective thing. There's always been disagreements and discussions everywhere you go with it, but because it's such a personal experience, you're always going to find something different. That's why a good song, most people can find something different in the lyrics.
Literally.
When you listen, when like you listen to like Weezer for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And you were getting the sort of evoking feelings that Rivers was, and how he was feeling. It was getting across to you. Someone probably listened to that and got something entirely different from it. I mean,
yeah. And now his latest single's called "I Want a Dog."
Maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
Maybe you should go and get one. Rivers, if you want a dog, I'll help you, son. I'll pick you up.
I can sum this album up in 3 styles: EDM, 90s dance, ballads.
Yeah.
And the album can also be summed up with one word. I've chosen insular.
I would have gone with forgettable, but insular is just as good.
There we go. That's the harsher way of it.
Yeah.
So essentially, the majority of the musical side of it seems to have an intentional desire to not be bright or bombastic.
Yes.
But rather say subdued, minimalistic, and to not jump out at you. So like rather it tries to make you like lean into the track and get absorbed into like the cloud it creates, rather than like, here's the track, start dancing, start doing this. It's more like scratch your chin. Yeah. Kind of get that. Like it to me, it sounds like The Life of Pablo by Kanye West. If you've heard the production on that,
yes,
very minimalistic drums. We're going to talk about the snare drum in a minute, but like that's what I got. Do you kind of get that same vibe?
Yeah, the way I would have described it is very sort of, you know, when there's like a BBC drama, where someone walks into a club and there's like loads of things going on with like drugs around them, drink, and or like people are like slowly that. I can hear that music on in the background.
Okay,
like it's very much it's not the point of interest. It's just adding an ambiance to the surroundings. It's not
I like
the subject.
It's being a background player in an otherwise album, which is like this is meant to be like the center stage. Yeah,
that's how I'd play it.
I like that. So yeah, the song "Hey Hey Hey" has a very cringy bit in it.
Yeah,
where she goes, "I fucking love it." Like the use of swearing to try and make her mature, because again, she is going into her she's going past her mid-30s. I think she's 36 at this point. No, 33. Sorry. So to go into your 20s, into your 30s, you have to kind of, it has to be a different setup or game plan versus Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus going in from their teenage years into their early 20s, because you either get sexualized or you pretend to beat up someone or go to threaten to beat up someone. Your security guard conveniently is holding you back.
Funny.
So you kind of have to go a different way. So like her use of swearing, because, you know, now she's not necessarily aimed at kids with Firework or Raw. She's going, I fucking love it, in a kind of sexy way, like in that kind of sexualized way. But like, it just made me cringe. It really made me cringe.
It is a bit cringy. I will give you that.
There's a song called Roulette. There's songs called Roulette, Tsunami, and then there's another one as well that has like a random like word that's used as like a metaphor, pendulum. So they're all meant to be metaphorical and stuff like that. Classic pop things. But Roulette, the first 2 songs are very EDM, and then this one's so 90s dance. If I asked you, this is the 3rd track, by the way, if I asked you to do a 90s synth and a 90s drum dance beat, that would be the 2 things you'd pick in the song Roulette. Like, it's just so much like that. It really doesn't fit in stylistically.
No.
It really jumps out at you in not a great way. It sounds more like a Lady Gaga song.
Yes.
I'm going to assume that she's not really explored this kind of style in her previous work. Swish Swish with Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Actually sounds like it's very, very 90s. It actually sounds like the Beyonce album Renaissance that she's just released 2022 last year.
I couldn't tell you because I've not given that album
Well,
a proper listen yet.
you know Break My Soul, right? You know Cuff It, like
very
that sound.
yeah.
So maybe Katy Perry's ahead of her time.
Maybe.
Because I feel like the 90s stuff has only really started to be like relevant in terms of 90s dance, after pandemic?
This is the thing, it's very much come back into like fashion. It's very much a new thing to be. And I mean, kids are dressing. There's a lot of 90s fashion about again.
There is.
It's
it happens.
Yeah, it's coming back.
It goes in cycles, doesn't it?
Maybe you could be right there. Katie's sort of
okay. Catherine, actually.
Catherine Huddison.
Let's get her name. Get her name right.
Get her name right.
The song Deja Vu. Now, this really sums up the main problem of the album, like we kind of touched on.
Yeah.
It just sounds so insular and introspective in the musical side of it. The snare drum's very varied.
Yeah.
And doesn't provide the snap and backbeat that gets you dancing. It's like she wants you to dance, but not as the person in the middle of the dance floor. It's more aimed at the people sat down in the chairs. So like you said, in the background of like a drama, of like a BBC thing, like very, very true. There's no dazzling synths. No. There's no bright sounding guitars to widen your eyes. It's almost like they've recorded it and then took off all that stuff.
There's a lo-fi feel to it.
That's what I mean, like a high pass filter.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, you'd think on paper that would be cool. And I mean, again, I didn't listen to it and go, oh, I hate this. It didn't strike me. I feel like it's very much one of those albums that you're going to have to listen to quite a few times before you actually appreciate. You
start getting the earworms kind of lifted out the ground, yeah.
I don't hate it. I haven't got a huge amount against it, but that is how it's very sort of pop, not pop, it's very sort of EDM lo-fi.
It is, but it has formulaic pop structures in it, which I think hamper the album, they hamper the songs, because they really should kind of mutate and grow like jungle and house music. Where you just kind of let things merge into one another.
Otherwise, it will just sit in the background.
Yeah, which is what Renaissance by Beyonce does well as a mixtape, but this doesn't, because they have to have, 16-bar verse, single chorus, 16-bar verse, double chorus, bridge, quiet third chorus, but then there's another double chorus. And like all of these songs hit that same problem.
Yeah.
Doesn't really help. The song Power seems to not know what it wants to be. It's almost like it's a pop song and an EDM song and then a 90s dance song. It's got these like samples in it, and it's got if you can remember, it's the one with the drum feel. It's like, and it goes on for ages.
Yeah.
And it just feels so out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really jarring.
But I like what it's trying to do, but it's almost like it suddenly goes to swing, and then it's got 16th notes in it, and it's got like every single rhythm. It's like the problem I used to have where I was like, I need to put every single like chord that's like really good and all these ideas into one song. Yeah. It's like, you need to think about it across all like loads of songs. It needs to fit into the song you're doing. And this is the problem. It starts with a sample as well. And, like it just has everything in it.
Yeah.
But again, that like high pass filter sound and everything. The chorus melody is the thing that saves it. And the bridge is solid. So I'm actually going to talk about chords now.
Here we go.
So it goes B flat minor, C minor, F minor, and then it goes B flat minor, C minor to F major. Now it's in the key of F minor. So it's cool that it goes to like a major resolve for its home chord.
Definitely.
Like it was the first time really that my brain went, wow, there's something to latch onto here. And then it just goes upwards. It goes B flat minor, C minor, D flat, E flat to like step up. And provide you with, so this is in the bridge as well. So like that classic thing of having a quiet third chorus.
Yes.
That like, you're just repeating the same section, but because it's quiet, it then kicks in. Yeah. That was the only time really, especially at this point in the album, that you have that bright, dazzling display where it works. Power seems to work.
Yes.
It's just too much rhythm, too much loads of stuff being chucked at it. But they kind of, and also I'm going to deduct it at minus 1,000,000 points because the sample has saxophone in it. I can't have that.
Yeah.
Miss You More. Like instead of having a snare drum, it has finger clicks. Maybe have finger clicks and a snare.
Yeah.
Don't replace your snare drum, which is really the heartbeat of your song, with that.
Unless it's, yeah, I mean, there's got to be some sort of integral reason, hasn't there, for it to be like that.
Yeah. And at this moment, we're past the halfway mark of the album, and I've had one single, Swish Swish.
Chain to the Rhythm, great tune.
Let's talk about it.
Great tune.
Well, the fact is that we learnt that 2 weeks after it came out as a single.
Yes.
Along with Shape of You.
Yes.
Now, when did we stop playing Chain to the Rhythm?
I'd say probably a month or two after it was released.
When did we stop playing Shape of You?
We still
sometimes have to play it.
Very sadly, have to play it. This is kind of the point. It died. It died. I mean,
did.
There's going to be people that remember it.
We've seen a noticeable drop off of people not knowing what the song was. So we went, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, we can't.
But then you start playing dung, 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 and everyone loses their mind.
But this is kind of the point, isn't it? That song clearly didn't stand the test of time.
But it annoys me because it's still a very, very good pop song. It's not indicative of the album at all. It sticks out.
Yes.
Swish Swish does kind of fit the album because it's 90s dance, but this isn't 90s dance.
The way I'd place that, and of course I'm going to say this, is Hot Space with Under Pressure.
Yes.
Because it's very much not of the same ilk.
I agree. And that's right at the end.
Yep.
Imagine if that was track 2. But then you get into that thing of like, okay, if it's at the end, it removes itself from the album, so then you like it more.
Yeah.
I wonder if I said that when we did the episode of Hot Space.
Possibly.
Remember, this album is meant to represent her more mature side and like more of a glimpse into her as a person. Think about the promotional and release of all this stuff. A 4-day live stream. She's doing therapy sessions. She's like, it's meant to be a bit more political and stuff, but like, I don't really care about the whole political thing.
Again, it just harks back to she's how rich?
Oh, she's rich.
And she's talking to me about her worldview. Katie, I'm sorry, I don't care.
Yeah, I can't relate.
Nope.
Yeah,
I don't care. It's not my shift, really.
It is not my shift. We're going to talk about the song Tsunami. I actually quite like the song Tsunami. The bass line. That's because you didn't get to it. This is the second half of the album. So
here we go.
The bass line's very busy. It can be a bit distracting, but it does work well. There's a harmony that's almost exactly the same as Calling All My Lovelies by Bruno Mars. Like the rhythm of her melody is exactly the same.
Okay.
It came out in the same year as well, 2017. And there's a very cool chord in the post-chorus. So it's in the key of C minor.
Yeah.
You have A flat, C minor, B flat, and then you get a B in the root of the chord. So it's like the closest note that you can get to the home chord, which usually you might hear in jazz and metal. You hear it all in Yngwie Malmsteen stuff, a harmonic minor, like that kind of thing of it. But like, it's the same thing that happens in Baby One More Time. So like the chord that when I figured out on the guitar, it was a G over B.
Okay.
So to have that in the key of C minor, like to me, it was the most dissonant you could get to.
Yeah.
Having all the half steps and, you know, that amount of tension, the biggest amount of tension that they could make was putting a G over B in this song.
Yeah.
I tried like diminish, I tried everything else, but like it was very cool. But again, what makes it even more tense is that you don't have like a piano or a guitar playing that chord. Like with a lot of these songs on Witness, it's just pads and it's just sparkly stuff. Yeah. So your brain isn't hearing like a triad or these notes that are picking out. You're hearing this synth playing a B.
Wow.
Over like almost like an ambience. And it's so like it pulls your ear. And I loved it.
I'd even suggest that there are points in this album's experimental in what it does and what it achieves.
For Katy Perry, yeah, and what she's done.
Real sort of interesting stuff that goes on. Yeah.
You've got the song Bon Appetit, which again was a single featuring Migos. And the weird thing about this song is it just sounds like Katy Perry's doing like a guest vocal or a guest chorus for 3 verses. Wow. And then Migos comes in. It's like, oh, it sounds like a Migos song.
Okay.
It's quite bright. Like it is a very good song.
Yeah.
It's like the second chorus slaps. Like the second chorus like really is bright and like very frantic. And it's dazzling. That's what you want to hear. Rather than this whole analogy of like dancing in the corner. Yeah. This is center stage dance floor, kind of like I am here, listen to me roar. Yeah. And then you get a song called Bigger Than Me. This is where you actually hear a lull in the album. Now, I thought the album was kind of plodding along, but you hear an actual album track and you're like, oh my God, it's taken a huge dip.
Wow.
When you get like bottom-ended albums where you're like,
yeah,
how many more tracks to go? But like the fact that Bon Appetit gave us such a flash in the pan so late in the album, but then you got to sit through this album track. Oh, it wouldn't stand a chance. I can't remember how it goes. It's just very, very dull. There's a song called Saver's Draft, which is very ballady. It's got no energy to it. It's so mid-tempo. It should be the last track, but it's not. The song Into Me, which is the last song, the only thing I like about it is it is literally a ballad. It's piano-led. It's in the key of C, which is the most ballad key.
Classic.
And also doesn't help with like sounding dull and sounding like cliched.
No.
It does a cool thing where it does like secondary dominance and it flirts with the Mixolydian key. All right.
Very classic.
Do you like that?
I do like that. Very classic sort of songwriter.
The album ends with a whimper and it's so long. It feels so long. But this whole album does feel like a woman in her 30s, knowing that she can't make teeny bop style music.
Yeah.
She can't really repeat the themes that she's done before. So there is a feeling of maturity. And my statement kind of rings true. So Saver's Draft got released as a single, but only in the adult contemporary charts. And it only got as high as 14.
Interesting.
So who knew that releasing songs in the adult contemporary section when transitioning from your 20s to your 30s, like I said earlier, is the same marketing move as Justin Bieber throwing eggs at a house and getting arrested for a little bit of weed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The main issue I have with this is that the majority of the songs try to sound like singles, whether they want to or not, but it's just so dull because they're stuck on that pop structure. So really, the album is a slog to get through. And my only recollection of this album, well, not recollection, but going into it was like Chained to the Rhythm. When Swish Swish came on, I was like, oh yeah.
I remember this.
I remember this.
I did that as well.
Like a forgotten gem.
Yeah.
So why do I think this album is Katy Perry past her prime? So I'm viewing it more like I'm trying to find the tipping point here of like, this is the album that she's past her prime.
Yeah.
So again, there's no indication for Katy Perry and her fans to know that this could be the tipping point. You just come off of a very big selling album that has your signature songs on it still to this day. Like Raw is her signature song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A big one. You're one of the highest grossing artists and one of the biggest selling female artists. Now, going back to what we talked about earlier with the quadrants, which were commercially, critically, songs played on subsequent tours, following album's performance, and singles mentioned in casual conversation. If I was to ask you, name me 3 Katy Perry songs now.
Firework, Roar, Chained to the Rhythm.
There you go. We only say Chained to the Rhythm because we've played it and because I sometimes forget about Hot and Cold.
I'll name you another.
Go on.
California Girls.
There you go. I feel like most
people,
people,
I Kissed a Girl.
Yeah, most people would not say anything to do with this album.
Probably not.
Which to me is an indication of like that shows you a bit
like
about time.
Chained to the Rhythm is a banger.
Commercially, as of 2023, this sold 900,000 copies worldwide. Do you know how many copies previous album Prism sold?
More than double.
4 million.
Yeah.
So commercially, okay. But again, you got to think about who buys albums and how albums do these days in this climate.
Yeah.
It still debuted at the top of the Billboard chart, along with topping charts in several countries, and at least being in the top 5 as well.
Yeah.
It soon started dipping. I think it dropped to number 13 the week after it topped it in the US.
Yeah.
It had the highest opening in the US for a female since Joanne by Lady Gaga, and became the second album by a female artist from 2017 to open at the top of a chart. So it still did well and hit accolades.
Yeah.
But I think we need to look at it from a singles perspective, because this is really the first time that she struggled to bag a number 1 hit from an album.
Yeah.
That to me is the biggest nail in the coffin of this is her past her prime, or the start of it. So on the Billboard Hot 100, only Chained to the Rhythm got in the top 10.
Yeah.
Bon Appetit got to 59, and Swish Swish got into 46.
Right.
Now, Katy Perry, again, like I said, as of 2017, before she released that album, she was still like absolutely huge, right? One of the biggest pop stars of our generation. Yeah, the album that she then releases, which again, when you just released it, you can't say it's past their prime. You're going to buy everything up.
Yeah.
It only got top 10 and then 59 and then 46.
That's mad.
The lowest she had charted before this was a song called Thinking of You. It got as high as 29, but that was the 3rd single from her first album. The first two singles were I Kissed a Girl and Hot and Cold, which got to number 1, number 3.
Yeah.
And also got to number 1 in many countries. So fair enough.
Yeah.
And since the singles have witnessed, the highest she's ever charted is 15 after that.
Wow.
So like it really did show a bit of a dip.
Really did hit. Yeah.
So to me, like that would be the thing I'd go, that is past that shows past her prime,
That's
right?
a knife edge, yeah.
Critically, it got mixed reviews. It ranged from kind of like praising the maturity of it, but also got criticized for all sounding the same and being lifeless. I can agree with that. It does sound very lifeless, this record.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, it needs repeated listens, but it's a pop album. And I don't feel like I don't want that from a pop album of someone like Katy Perry. I want it to be very, not throwaway, but like digestible in one go. I want to know exactly what the album is like and what it's telling me in one listen.
Yeah.
Much like Yngwie. That's a positive of Yngwie. You know exactly what you're getting.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to scratch your head.
There's no ambiguity, is there?
Did I look up songs played on subsequent tours? No, I didn't. So screw yourself on that. But I would say that I don't think she probably plays the hits.
I would assume so.
I'm going to assume that, assume.
If
She probably just play Chained to the Rhythm.
All the time.
I reckon that's the only one she plays.
Probably. If I was going to go and see Katy Perry, I know what I would expect.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be anything off that album unless it was Chained to the Rhythm.
The following album's performance, which I can't remember the name of, it tanked even more.
Wow.
Not as much. So she is on a decline there.
Yeah.
And like we said, singles mentions in casual conversation. I would think I would bet you ask anybody, name me 3 Katy Perry songs, they're not going to say Chained to the Rhythm. It just gets forgotten.
Yeah.
We only know it because we learned it.
Yeah.
I think we also have to point out, and this is another reason why I think even she knew she was past her prime. The same year that album came out, she took a $25 million salary to be a judge on American Idol. Now, do you think people that are in the prime of their musical career become a judge on a musical talent show?
No.
I think it speaks for itself, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, even if I was doing insatiably well, if someone offered me that number,
yeah, but
it would take a lot for me to say.
But think about your Katy Perry. She was like, I can't remember what year. It was probably around the time this album came out. She was the biggest selling touring artist of that year.
Very true.
You've sold so much. Why do you need 25 million to be a musical panelist?
Yeah, very true. But it's not always about need, is it? I mean, you want to protect your interests as much as you can because things can go wrong.
Yeah, but 25 million.
25 mil. That's a lot of money.
So how do we defend this album, Mez?
I like it. I think I say I like it. I couldn't even get through it. What I did here, like I said, there were points where I was like, okay, this is interesting. There are interesting points in it.
Mm-hmm.
It is more experimental than I've given it credit for in my listening time. And
to my knowledge, only knowing that album, I don't think any of her previous albums have sounded like that.
I would assume not.
Yeah.
Very much so. But I certainly think it's not the worst thing I've ever heard.
It's really not. It's like I almost wanted a little bit more from it because it was trying to be something a bit more than it was.
It can't decide what it is.
Yeah.
Certainly not. But it's not crap. It's not bad. Chained to the Rhythm's a banger. And like I said, it's very backgroundy. It's very sort of...
It is.
Yeah, very sort of...
This is the question that I would ask. Does Katy Perry feel like she's achieved everything she wants in her musical career either now or at that point?
Maybe.
Because think of it this way. To go from 2008 until 2013, just 5 years, she had a massive amount of success, like out of the gate, #1 hit single.
Yeah.
Becoming one of the biggest pop stars ever only happens to a few.
Yes.
The 7-year gap between her first album and her first major label album was longer than her fierce reign as a pop queen.
Yeah.
She's had #1 hits and she's had the big grossing tours and she's experienced a thrill ride of fame and pop stardom. She got married to Russell Brand and divorced. I forgot about that.
So did I, yeah.
Dated John Mayer for ages. She's now a mother with Orlando Bloom. Johnny Depp. That's an extras quote.
Willy Wonka, Johnny Wanker.
She wanted to make a more introspective album that's more true to herself. And if it sold, it sold. She had the fan base. It was going to sell anyway. Okay. Yeah. It didn't sell as much as the albums before, but Have I ever sold 900,000 copies of an album ever?
That's always the way I look at it. I'm like, if I sold 900,000 copies of an album, I'd be absolutely chuffed.
And how ballsy is that to be like, I'm going to do an album that's probably a bit more introspective. I'll fire, regardless of the circumstance. I'm not going to collaborate with the person that I know I can make hit records with, and just go right in the height of my fame. And just go, screw it. Let's see what happens.
It's very, very bold.
That's brave.
Very bold.
That's brave.
But and I respect that.
To finish off what I'm going to say, she has the luxury to make music whenever she wants, and that's something a lot of people strive for. I know I do. So to even have a year of what she experienced, let alone 5 years, and again, still successful album and still a successful tour, and didn't damage her reputation in the sense that like it affected it, but it didn't damage it.
No.
But you did see a noticeable drop off, I think, of every quadrant that we kind of talked about, like commercially and critically, and even like songs. Because I think now that if you were going to make a Katy Perry playlist for somebody, you'd have to put on the hits that are not from Witness. You'd have to go backwards from Witness.
Yeah.
So to me, that's my pick. I'm sticking by that. But I still think it's an interesting listen. It's just quite dull. You need to go into it being like, this is a passive album. It's not an active album. All right?
Yes. I agree.
And I want to hear a Katy Perry Ingve mashup. Can you imagine?
That'd be smells.
It'd be insane.
That would be something.
It'd be insane. So yeah, that was the podcast.
Yeah, that was the podcast.
You know, we'll get a better schedule. Now I know that I've got this ADHD thing and this dyslexia thing, and you know, it's all my fault basically. We'll figure something out, and we'll try and be a bit more consistent.
And I'll leave you with a little joke.
Go on then, leave me a little joke, please.
I don't know what HD is, but my doctor says I have 80 of them.
Good night, everybody.